Are you ready, Pilot 1?
Yes, sir. Activating warp drive in 10, 9, 8,
Good.
5,
To infinity and beyond.
3, 2, 1.
Hello and welcome to Space Exploration. I'm Astronaut Taco. Today we'll be covering 4 main questions. What are space programs doing towards space travel? Why we should care about space travel? How can we create enough energy to be able to travel further into space? And with light speed will ever be possible? Let's start with what are space programs doing towards space travel? One thing that NASA is currently doing is the Artemis program. The Artemis program will be a series of 3 spacecrafts. The first 2 will send materials, while the last one will have a crew on board, and they'll stay for the week on the moon, the longest time ever. But there's something much, much bigger than that. The major thing that big space programs such as NASA are trying to do is to create a moon base, like this. NASA says that they're first going to send robots to build their building blocks for the buildings. The blocks will be made from the dust found on the moon. They make it by magnifying sunlight to the dust, melting them together. So basically a 3D printer for moon dust. Lunar soil also has the necessary ingredients for building concrete, so we can build big structures out of the lunar soil concrete, while the moon dust 3D printer could serve for smaller things. Now, since NASA plans to send robots to build a moon base, it obviously won't start out as big as this. In fact, it will just be a few research centers and some small mines. But, over time, from a research center, the moon base may become bigger and bigger, until even normal citizens can live there. So why would they even want to build a moon base? Well, moon mining is one of the first reasons they want to. The moon is filled with valuable metals such as gold, aluminum, uranium, and magnesium, which is very good for economic mining. Meteorites also believed to contain precious metals. This will allow countries to have a better economy, and with that money, the government can fund schools, build hospitals, build roads, etc. If you can extend out further into our solar system, this would mean an infinite amount of resources for us, because we can just push the meteorites into the moon's orbit and mine them, getting the resources inside. Because private companies would also want in the mining, they would invest in the project. So in the future, when all of this is in action, they can make money out of the mining. So the rich people who own the private companies get even richer. That structure over there is a testing center. That's another thing that NASA hopes to do with the moon base, to test tools they might use for future missions. So how will they get food? Well, with a water treatment plant with ice from the polar regions of the moon and the natural sunlight, they can start a farm. But plants need carbon dioxide, a gas that is rare on the moon. But carbon dioxide can be synthesized from recycled materials. They will first bring the plants from Earth. Electricity can be generated by solar panels. A moon base will be the first step in us becoming an interplanetary species. And this is good, because if we want to guarantee our survival as a species, we need to extend out into the universe, because our Earth is dying. Scientists are hoping to launch spacecraft from the moon, since there will be less gravity, less fuel required to launch it into space, allowing more cargo, along a longer trip. But why should we citizens care about this? Well, one major thing is that it will improve relationships between countries. With major space programs from different countries such as China, US, and Russia all showing interest in the project, they will work together. This will build trust and mutual understanding between them. This will decrease the chances of conflict between them, and also increase the amount of trading that they will do. Another thing is that this project will inspire people to take up a career in astronomy, scientists, or other jobs related to science, which will improve the economy. This improves the economy because people will earn money, pay taxes, and the money will go to the government. A clear example of this is when Apollo 17 landed. During that time, there was a huge spike in PhDs of physical scientists, mathematical sciences, and engineering. This is where the people will stay. Scientists say that the rooms will be cozy but compact, to fit the greatest number of people possible. But that may change in the future when they develop the moon base more and more. We could also set up radio telescopes on the far side of the moon, shielded from the interferences from the Earth's electromagnetic field. This would allow us to discover more of the universe. The process of building this moon base would also create new technologies which we could use on Earth. For example, we might invent a new way to grow plants quicker. Another big reason why we should care about space exploration is that we might find new ways to sustain Earth. For example, we might find new chemicals which we could use to create energy. This will greatly affect how we normal citizens live our daily lives, because cars will look differently, prices for energy might go down, and will make the place where we are staying cleaner and more sustainable. Speaking of energy, how might we be able to create enough energy to travel to space? Helium-3 is a chemical found in places with no atmosphere, such as the moon. You can do nuclear fusion with helium-3, which can create a lot of environmental clean energy. We could mine helium-3 from the moon and send it back to Earth. Helium-3 could also be used in spaceships. Right now, the Chinese Lunar Exploration Program is looking into this. Nuclear fusion is when two small nuclei are merged, and the process releases energy, but only certain molecules have the needed properties, and helium-3 has the properties needed to do this. Toluene is another chemical that can create energy. Although it is not clear how to get energy out of it, scientists are sure that it contains energy. Toluene can be found on foreign moons such as Titan and on the surface of planets. This is a research center where scientists are researching about energy use and new ways to create energy. Water can also be used to create energy. We can make hydrogen fuel cells, which can power the moon base through the night when the solar panels won't work. We can also split the water into two things, hydrogen and oxygen, with which we can make rocket fuel. And just like that, we can create a supply depot. We can load water to spacecrafts and send them into the moon's orbit. Then spaceships in course to Mars or other places can stop there for fuel before going off again. This leads to the last question. Can we ever travel at the speed of light? Scientists have a theory of a spaceship that could potentially travel faster than the speed of light. To understand more of that, let's head over to the Spacecraft Museum. The spaceship will look something like that at the end. In 1994, Miguel Alcubierre created a plan. The plan was to create a spaceship that can warp space in such a way that space itself carries the ship to its destination. In front of the ship, there will be contraction, and on the back of the ship, there will be expansion, creating this shape. This will be just like riding a wave. The surfboard is a spaceship, and the wave is space. The surfboard itself isn't moving, but the wave is carrying it. The thing around the ship is called the warp bubble. This bubble is the field of negative energy that warps space. Let me explain that further. So how can we warp space? Well, space contracting is just the effect of gravity, and that gravity can be replaced with energy, so all we need is a lot of energy focused around the spaceship. But for expansion, we need negative energy. That's where the warp bubble comes in. The warp bubble will expand space with negative energy. Now you might be wondering, how do we get negative energy? Well, there's a thing called the Casimir effect. This is when two plates are very close together, approximately 10 nanometers apart. Dr. White found that if certain chips were put in between the two plates, then it would create an energy that seems like negative energy. Dr. White and his team are doing further investigations right now. Traveling faster than the speed of light is important because that means we can travel to other planets quickly, leading to a huge amount of possibilities. This would solve one of the problems of world population, because we could travel to inhabitable planets and live there. We could find new life. We can make new discoveries that could change the way we live, such as finding new plants that require little to no water and generates a lot of oxygen. We could do experiments on other planets to understand more of how our world works and use that knowledge to create new technology, or for other things. And most important of all, this ensures our survival as a species. That concludes today's topic, space exploration.
Astro, no. What you know about rolling down in the deep? When your brain goes numb, you can call that mental freeze. When these people talk too much, put that in slow motion, yeah. I feel like an astronaut